Hello and welcome. I'm Matthew C. Scaro. Joining me as always is Deji Kuforiji and Clint Battersby. You are watching MMA in the Basement. This past weekend we are coming off a night of big fights at UFC 217. Deji, I'm not even sure what the biggest upset would be. What we saw 3 new champions crowned. Which was the most amazing in your opinion?
I think Rose Namajunas taking the championship away from Joanna and John Jacek. I don't think any of us picked Rose to pull it off, and pull it off how she did with standing up was awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Rose was the biggest underdog of the entire card.
It might have been. I'm not sure.
You know, and for me, I just did not see Rose being able to defeat Young Jacek on the feet. I thought maybe if she had any chance, it was on the ground. I mean, do you agree?
I completely agree, and the biggest reason that is I agree with Deji completely there is because that was the biggest upset. Like, leading up to that fight, there was all this talk about her possibly being the GOAT of the women's division, and it just seems like every time they start putting these fighters on that pedestal of GOAT, greatest of all time, it becomes one of those situations where it's like they lose immediately after they get crowned, and I was shocked. I thought if there was a sure thing, I thought that was the sure thing. The other 2 fights could have gone either way. We weren't shocked either way with those fights, but that fight in particular was very surprising for me. And the way that she won too was devastating. She went in there and basically handled her at what the champ is like best at, and so I was very impressed.
I was too. I was amazed that she was able to get a submission via strikes out of Young Jacek. Now, I personally think that Joanna has earned herself an immediate rematch.
Yes, I mean she was on a 6 or 7 fight win streak.
Undefeated.
She's the only champion in that, or second. She was the second champion in that division.
She's not a longer than that fight win streak. She's undefeated, right?
Yeah, she's undefeated, but who was the champion beforehand? It was
Carla Esparza?
Yes, and she destroyed that champion, which no one thought would be able to be coming off the Ultimate Fighter for those girls. Yeah, I think she has earned it, but I think that there's a feeling in MMA where we're tired of rematches.
Yeah.
It's just what we want to see, fresh fights, and I think that. I don't know if that's going to be the immediate rematch, but out of all the 3 fights, I think that deserves a rematch. But we'll have to see what the UFC wants to do.
I'd like to just say, out of left field, that the thing that most impressed me about that fight was Rose's speech afterwards, where she basically came out and said that she is a nobody, that it's all about being a better person, and the way that she talked after all the trash talking that went into the fight beforehand, and then all of a sudden she wins the belt, beats the champ at what the champ does best, and then is still so humble. Like, that's why my kids are in jiu-jitsu as it is. Like, it's that kind of like humbleness and like her grasp on reality of what's really important in life. And in her eyes, she's like saying, like, having the belt, this is a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but like, be a better person, be a good person. And I was very moved by that, and I can't wait to see her perform again.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up trash talking because all the guys that lost were the biggest trash talkers. So, I mean,
yeah.
Wow. So trash talking did
Bigger
not
than
work
Cody?
I think Cody, Bisping, and Joanna.
Oh, the ones that
talk.
lost were the biggest trash talkers. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's true. That's definitely true.
And another thing too, I don't know if anybody noticed, it was consecutive rounds that
Yes.
all the champions lost.
First round.
And second round for TJ victory, and then the third round for GSP taking it. First round for Rose, so that was kind of crazy. So all you conspiracy theorists. Into numerologists.
Yes, I think the numerologist knew that this one was coming. What I didn't expect was to see TJ knock out Cody. I thought that TJ could beat Cody on the mat. I thought he could grind him out. I just did not see him catching Cody cleanly like that and being able to put him to sleep, really.
You're talking about rematches. I mean, out of the 3 fights, I think this was the most competitive one. I know GSP versus Bisping was competitive, but I really thought that there was a different level of competitiveness with TJ versus Cody, because in the first round, Cody dropped TJ, and it was close to being a showstopper. In the second round, Cody is fast. He is super fast. But what TJ was the slickness that TJ has to throw those leg kicks, knock him down, and then beat him with the right hook. I mean, we talk about rematches. I would like to see this rematch, and I don't know if you're going to get into this, but TJ's already asking for DJ, and it's like, I just feel like you have to really secure your division before you're looking to move on to a different division, you know?
I think, and in my eyes, as far as the call out of DJ, as much as like everybody's been kind of trying to move up that ladder where they become champ and they call somebody else out and the other champ out. In this particular case, I feel like it's more because DJ didn't want to fight him, because that fight was on the table for a while, where Dana basically, when the original Cody match fell through, Dana was trying to save face and basically put TJ together with DJ, and DJ was like, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah. And now that he's a belt holder, there's a really good chance that DJ might be like, okay. Like,
it's a great money fight, but at the end of the day, I mean, you just won a close fight. It was a close fight. You might have won by knockout, but it was a close fight. And you haven't really cleared out that division. You got Jimmy Rivera still there. I was looking at the rankings, and there's about 5-6 undefeated fighters in that ranking that we never heard of. I just think that he's got to put more work in, secure your division, become the greatest in that division, and then go down or move up. But
absolutely, I agree. It's Murderer's Row at 35. There's a lot of great contenders there. I also feel like you shouldn't call out someone at a lower weight class.
Yes.
Even if he is the GOAT of 25 and possibly of all of MMA, but I just feel like call out someone either larger than you or in your weight class. But yeah, like you said, Jimmy Rivera, I think Thomas Almeida could see a rebound. I think he could come back and eventually fight for a title one day. But getting back to the fight there with TJ and Cody, it reminded me when you said that Cody is so fast. Conor McGregor said, speed beats power, but accuracy beats speed. And I felt like that was exactly what we saw on Saturday. It was accuracy beating speed.
Yeah, no, they pinpoint accuracy. Cody kind of took it upon himself and said, hey, listen, I got caught with my hand down, but he hit directly on the button, and accuracy does beat speed. But I don't know if you guys saw the combinations from Cody. I mean, it was lightning fast.
It was unreal.
Yes. So
it was one of the talking points of when we were watching the fights. Was like he looked like a boxer out there with his the way he was moving, and it was pretty amazing. And I think the thing that Cody's going to take away from this fight in the end is after his last fight when he dominated Dominic Cruz and he was basically showboating the whole time. I feel like he went into this fight thinking he was going to do the same thing.
He did it a little bit.
Yes, and that's what I mean is he went into this fight thinking he was going to showboat his way through the fight and
show up.
Yeah, and I think this is going to put him back in his place where it's like, yeah, maybe that's for after fight, before fight, but maybe I should put that away.
And one thing too, the rivalry was built on him being a snake. And it was funny what you said. You said your conspiracy is that his motions in the ring were snake-like.
I think he was training to act like a snake in the ring. I do.
That's awesome. I mean, he was darting in and out. He had this weird stance. But getting off point here, we're talking about...
Sorry, real quick.
Yes.
Clint, did you see that? Can you see it all what I was talking about? Cody did not look like himself the way he was striking. He looked odd, like there was some sort of weird Shaolin Kung Fu coming out of him. Or some sort of snake style.
I'll be honest, it's one of those things too where I felt like after the first round, Cody clearly won the first round. And we kind of, I at least got the impression that that's the way that the fight was going to go, was the way it went in the first round. That Cody would, just like he did with Dominic Cruz, basically pick him apart. And I felt like even at the beginning of the second round, I think he hurt he hurt TJ. No, I think that was at the end of the first. He hurt TJ and with a leg kick or something, and
uppercut. It was a punch.
He hurt him, and it changed the way TJ went into the second round.
Yes.
And TJ didn't go into the second round and fight the same way he fought in the first. He went in there with a different game plan. Like, it's almost like they had that, like game plan 2, and they went to game plan 2, and that's what won them the fight. That he didn't go in there and play the same games that he played in the first round, and he changed it up, and Cody wasn't expecting that.
And in the second round, he started that showboating again. You were saying,
yes,
Cody, because he was missing some leg kicks and I think a couple of punches.
Everything was a leg.
Yes, exactly. And he was pointing to the ground like, I'm over here. And then he caught him with the leg kick, and then he caught him with the hook. And the point I was getting at earlier was, I'm surprised how professional Cody is after the fight.
Yes.
With everything that was built up, and for him to shake his hand. I know he got into it with TJ's brother, because TJ's brother was on the outside of the cage screaming.
Yeah.
But they shook hands, they hugged, they moved on. He still believes that Cody is a snake. That's why I brought up the snake thing. But he's still professional at the end of the day, and I like that, and I really admire someone that can say, hey, I don't like this person, but at the end of the day, it's competition, and I respect him.
Me. Yes,
exactly.
Legitimately beat me too. Like, not like it's one thing when a referee comes in and stops it, and you can sit there and say, oh, well, like, yeah, like.
Well, Joanna just said, I don't know, it was a very odd stoppage. Did you notice that?
Do you want to stop it?
Yes, it was odd because the ref tapped
Yes.
Rose, but
we didn't see the tap in the original. And when you're watching the fight live, we didn't see Joanna tap. It was like one of those things where we just kind of saw the referee kind of tap Rose a little bit, and we thought like that's all he had to do was just to stop the fight. Like, he just like kind of gives her a little tap, and it was very odd. And then we could see in the replay that Rose clearly saw Joanna tap while she was on the floor, and that's what made her stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the tap, I'm just guessing here, the tap that the referee gave her was don't hit in the back of the head.
Yes.
And then you see Joanna tap. But then now Joanna's out saying that she didn't tap, which was very strange. Maybe she doesn't remember.
Well, I should say that the referee should not be touching the fighter. If the referee touches the fighter like that, the fighter's to stop fighting.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's intervening with the fight. I also thought the referee was kind of on top of the two of them right before the stoppage. It looked like he was about to stop
Too close.
Yeah. But that's a tough job. That's a thankless job, and so I'm not going to be too critical of him. But, getting back to the TJ and the Cody, obviously, yes, Cody did handle it very well, taking that loss. It did seem like that beef was real. Like, that wasn't manufactured. And I can't say that about the GSP versus Bisping fight. I felt like Bisping was putting on a little bit of an act, the way that he was talking all that smack right up to it.
And that kind of, what you're talking about, putting on an act, kind of felt like that was just to sell this fight. Because I don't think many people really were excited about this card before the card happened. I do have to say that this card was probably the best card of the year, and it's a close candidate for top 10 of all time. Just because of the outcome, just because of the quality of the fights, it was really good. So I do have to say, yes, Bisping was putting on an act, and I didn't feel the heat, like I always like to say, between those two fighters, but that was an amazing fight.
And the thing with Bisping, though, is Bisping's always talked. Like, from the beginning, since he was on Tough, he was a talker.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, him taking it to Conor levels is like, I think everybody's seen how talking a little bit of trash can make you a little bit more money. And that's what I think has happened with because it's happening left and right with everybody now.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking trash on Twitter. Everybody's talking trash all over the place, trying to bring interest to fights that casual fans don't care about. But if they could sit there and sell it based off of, oh, there's Twitter beef, and now all of a sudden it's like people are like, oh, these two guys don't like each other. Yeah. Whereas before it was, this is the number 7 guy fighting the number 12 guy, and they're just selling it off of rankings, and it's like, no.
Shamrock versus Ortiz, there was a lot of talking, but I think that they're really all pushing it, like you said.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a little bit more, a little bit extra going on here, but
It just doesn't feel genuine sometimes. And it didn't feel genuine with Bisping. But that's okay. I still enjoyed it.
no, I think the outcome of the fight and the fight itself really kind of made up for that, the shitty build-up.
I was amazed that GSP was able to pull out that submission. I thought he was done. I thought the gas tank was
Yes.
In the
flashy.
second round, you can tell.
Yeah. But
Bisping was cutting up because I think in the second round he took Bisping down and Bisping cut him open from the bottom
oh yeah, bad.
with the elbows.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like, man, and he's looking gassed. I mean, 4-year layoff. He's an extra 15 pounds in,
Yep.
you know, and who maybe more after you weigh in.
Sure.
You're putting on a lot more weight. So it showed in that second round.
In my opinion, I feel like it's one of those deals with them where we give Bisping more credit because Bisping has been a current fighter and didn't have the last 3 years off. But Bisping's an old man too. So it's like, as much as we can sit there and say we were surprised by that, GSP is considered like at least like top 5 of all time.
Because
Like,
he's a goat too. People
like
talk
yeah,
about him
he's
as a
like
goat, too.
he's a great fighter,
Yes.
and those words aren't used with Bisping. He's a champion.
Yes.
He was a champion, but we don't consider Michael Bisping. He's lost to some scrubs, so it's one of those deals where it's like it kind of evened itself out for me. Where it's like I feel like if GSP was at the top of his game and had been fighting, it wouldn't have been that close. It wouldn't have gone 3 rounds.
And this is another thing. This is the debate going on. Why did he take a fight versus Michael Bisping? And I think it goes to your point where Michael Bisping may not be at the top of his game, and it might be an easier fight than going against a heavy hitter like Woodley or any of the 170s that are creeping
In their
up.
prime.
Yes. So, I mean, I think it was a good fight to come back. If he wasn't the champion and it was like a title contender fight, I think that would have been ideal. But, I mean, that's why I think people were a little upset that how is this guy on a layoff for 4 years getting a title fight? But it all makes sense now.
and now he gets to say that he was a 2-division champion.
Only 4 of the men.
Yep, exactly. And so that puts him in a very, very small select group. And maybe Chael Sonnen says he thinks that GSP is the best ever. I don't know if you guys heard that interview with Chael Sonnen
No.
the other day.
You know, when the fight ended and all the GSP minions came out, and GSP's, it's like every time someone wins, their fan base floods the internet about goats. I mean,
sure.
it's like it's ridiculous. But I took a second because I was like, dude, he really is a very good fighter. I mean, he's not flashy like Jones. He's not, crazy like Anderson Silva standing there taking punches to the face and then destroying someone. But he is just a well-rounded fighter. He goes in, he's tactical, and he gets the job done. So, yeah, he's in the top 5.
Real talk, the reason I'm here, the reason I can sit at this table and know what I'm talking about is because of GSP. First pay-per-view I ever bought, I've said it before, was Chuck and Tito 1. I didn't know anything about the sport, and their trash talking was what made me buy that pay-per-view. But on that fight card, GSP fought Mayhem Miller.
Yeah.
And I thought Mayhem Miller came out dancing. I didn't know anything about MMA. Came out dancing. I was like, he's going to smoke this Canadian. And the way that GSP not only dominated the fight, but then came out after the fight and was the most respectful guy I'd ever seen, was so classy. That's what brought me into the sport and really educated me about the sportsmanship of everything and how not everything has to be a Floyd Mayweather like situation. Like it changed my life.
So where does GSP go from here, I think is the question. They asked him if he was going to defend that belt at 85. I think it's Murderer's Row at 170. I thought I remember hearing him say that he would be willing to fight at 155, but I don't think that's the realistic.
So there's a couple of things. 185, he said that he will, in the contract, UFC can do anything with their contracts. But in the contract, he said that he's going to defend the belt if he won. So I really do believe that he's going to fight.
Conor
Manawa?
McGregor.
I was going to get there. No, who's the 185?
Oh, I said Manawa. No.
Whitaker.
Whitaker.
I think he's going to fight Whitaker. I think that's the fight to make. But you brought up Conor McGregor.
Right.
And Conor McGregor is like a golden ticket that everybody wants. If you put GSP and Conor McGregor at the 170 weight class, that's a huge fight. You don't even need any belts on the line.
In my opinion, as far as that goes, I could see him fighting Whitaker just based off the fact that for the positives in fighting Bisping was that Bisping's old and on his way out. Whitaker is young, and as much as he's had a good couple of fights, he's a tough fighter that is like basically new to the scene in my eyes. He's not like a guy who's like been paying his dues for this long period of time and is in his prime and is a killer right now. So it's like I kind of feel like I could see him taking that fight just based off of thinking that his experience I'm gonna take him down and hold him down. And,
after the fight though, I mean, we've discussed it, and I've just heard this all over the internet that some people don't really want to see him at 185. It was fun to see him come back, win a belt,
GSP,
blah blah blah. And I think people just want to see him at his natural weight. He said he felt heavier, he felt slower. I would like to see him at 170, but he said he's going to defend it. And I think it's just fair to Whitaker because Whitaker had to fight Yoel Romero. Whitaker's been through the murderer's row at 185. I think he defends the belt, and then if he wins, vacate it and go back to his natural weight class, and then he'll be on a roll if he does win. You know what I'm saying? Now people are like, okay, he took care of that division. Now it's time to move on to 170 and reclaim the throne there. So that's what I would like to see.
Let's also be real. Like, in my opinion about GSP, I think he should just vacate the belt and just have a couple more fights. I think he should fight Anderson Silva. I feel like he should be.
So
that's
good.
what he should be doing. Like he's
Just money
38.
fights.
He's a 38-year-old man. He's clearly not going to be in it to hold on to this belt and basically defend it like he did before. So he had a nice comeback fight. He should vacate the belt and go have a couple more fights that he's going to do anyways. No matter what, if he wins his next fight or not, he still only has a couple more years of fighting left anyways.
If I'm the UFC, I pay Whitaker under the table and say, hey, you re-injured yourself. We want to get Anderson Silva in this fight. Because that's a fight everybody's been waiting for. And I think this is the time for him to take that fight with Anderson Silva. I see him beating Anderson Silva and just building that aura around him as being one of the greatest of all times.
And there was a knock on when they originally started talking about GSP versus Anderson Silva. And I love GSP, but there's this part of me that felt like he was a little scared of fighting Anderson Silva. At that time, Anderson Silva was like the GOAT.
Yes.
Anderson Silva was the man. And now that Anderson Silva lost to Michael Bisping, not really, but they say he did. Even though now that he's lost a couple of those fights, I feel like GSP could be like, why not Anderson Silva? Add that name to my resume.
Anderson Silva, you mentioned Conor McGregor, T. Woodley. I mean, there's a lot of T. Woodley haters. And, I mean, yeah, I just think you just go on a farewell tour and just let them fight everybody, and belt or no belt. I mean, UFC needs the payola over the next year, put him in 2 or 3 more fights that are huge fights.
Have him fight Brock Lesnar, maybe?
Yeah.
Is that too much?
The money's there.
It's there.
It is there.
It is.
I'd love to see Brock Lesnar get destroyed by James. But we'll see. And so we got to talk about, though, it looks like Frankie Edgar's injured. He's not going to be fighting Max Holloway. I personally am a little upset about this one. I thought this was such a great fight. I would pick Frankie in this, but my goodness, Holloway looks so good recently. I just feel like he's on another level at this point. Who are they going to put in at this point now?
I'm not even sure who's in the top 5.
You got T-City,
Yes.
Brian Ortega, T-City. I, of course, want to see Ricardo Lamas fight him again, but it might be a little bit early.
Hey, Ricardo.
And we'll see. But I think T-City is probably the fight to make.
I think he is. I think he's top 5. I think he's 5th. And we've already Aldo versus Lamas is already booked. I really don't want to see Aldo back in there. He got crushed. I don't think Lamas is ready right now. I think T-City is the fight to make. I really do. I think there's another guy named Maga Shapirov. He's a study, but he's ranked like 26 or 27 or something. Dude, the guy is like Yoel. No, not Yoel. What's the young Rodriguez?
Yair.
He's like Yair Rodriguez mixed with Anthony Pettis. Check this guy out, dude.
What a
He's
combo that would be.
unbelievable. But yeah, I mean that's just pipe dreams right now. But I think you're right. T-City, he's undefeated with one no contest. I mean, why not put them together? Save that card. I mean, and the kid's kind of got that whole Diaz kind of thing going with him too, you know.
He does.
So I would love to see that fight. That's a great matchup.
And also out is Dominic Cruz. He is not going to be fighting Jimmy Hivada.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? I mean, again, that's another one that upsets me. I had two great fighters.
There's this part of me that's wondering where that leaves Dominic Cruz, where it's like, is Dominic Cruz getting to that point in his career where he had his dominant stretch, and now, you know, he's a pretty good broadcaster. Like he's one of those guys where when he first started broadcasting with them, like because I disliked him as a fighter, like I hated hearing his voice, but he's won me over in that realm. So there's this part of me that wonders too if maybe he does like
Hang it up.
yeah.
You know, I think that Dominic Cruz aside, I think what's the young man's name again? His opponent.
Jimmy Rivera.
Yeah,
Who's a
Jimmy.
tank.
No, awesome. I really think this leaves a path to TJ. I think TJ should start saying, "Hey, yo, before I go down go take care of DJ, I need to take care of Jimmy." That's the fight to make.
I could see them doing a Cody rematch too.
Or Cody
where
versus,
now that Cody's lost and he didn't like defend the belt, I could totally see them doing a Cody rematch, and then winner of that gets Dillashaw.
Oh, you mean?
Yeah, I mean Cody and Cruz.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah. No, you're right. Because
How long is Cruz out for?
was it a broken arm? You said?
Yeah.
He'll be okay.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
I could still see them having Cody. I could see Cody.
I think that makes sense.
I could see them feeding somebody to Cody and then giving him another fight.
Yeah.
And then
How long does a broken arm take? 3 months.
something like that.
And if Cody's out, he got knocked out. It's going to be 3 or 4 months before his next fight. So yeah, make the rematch and make Jimmy the #1 contender. Why not do that? That'll be I mean, there's, like you said, there's Almeida and there's a bunch of other guys that are in 135 that are. I mean, that division's growing a little bit. I think it's a little top heavy still, but I would like to see that. I think that's a great matchups right there.
Jimmy Rivera. That would be a great fight versus TJ Dillashaw.
And I think TJ you need to focus on your division. You need to go on a 7-fight win streak. Make yourself look like the dominant fighter before you say, "Oh, I want to go take his throne." Why, dude? That's not your division, man. Go and secure your division. Put that crown on your head. Say, "I'm the greatest fighter of all time." And if he wants to come up or if he wants me to go down, it doesn't matter. You can't just win the belt and then go prounce off to another weight class. I just think it looks weak. It looks artificial.
Listen up, that is sage advice. You should definitely take note. And for all of you watching, please check back here next week for more MMA in the Basement.